You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woof, my goodness. I'm reminded of Joe Buck and his call on Monday Night Football in the Packers and Vikings game when Randy Moss fake mooned the crowd and he just declared, "That was a disgusting act." That's how I feel about Tigers baseball right now. But welcome in live Locked On Tigers postcast starts right now. Tigers swept out of town by the Kansas City Royals 8-3, the final in this one. We're going to break it all down. Tough outing for Tarik Skubal. He gets tagged for 4 earned runs. That's the most, tying the most of his season output so far this season in 2024. And once again, just another day at the ballpark where the Tigers don't show up. Just a miserable series all around. And the Tigers are now 3 games under 500 for the first time. So that's what's on the docket for today. Doesn't it sound like a fun show? Fortunately, we're going to mix it up with some Twitter GIF therapy or X GIF therapy. Appreciate everybody that has submitted those. So we'll get into those as well. But right now, I want to thank you for making Locked On Tigers postcast your destination following the conclusion of Tigers games and making it your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show made possible by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to bring home that big win. Not so easy for the Tigers after they get swept, but you want to keep your ride or die alive, unlike my fandom for the Tigers, which currently feels dead, at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay, guaranteed fit, only available for U.S. customers. So huge shout out for eBay Motors for making today's show possible. All right, let's continue on with today's show. We got a lot of people checking in on the YouTube. As always, appreciate everybody tuning in and subscribing to Locked On Sports Detroit. It's baseball season right now, so we are all about Locked On Tigers postcast. When the fall rolls around, we'll have that little combo season of Locked On Tigers postcast and, of course, Locked On Lions postcast following the conclusion of every Lions game. That's going to be a blast. And then the same once the Pistons season gets going with Locked On Pistons postcast, all a part of making Locked On Sports Detroit your destination for post-game analysis, reaction, and me crying real tears watching this Tigers baseball team. Because every script of this 3-game series against the Royals was the same. Kansas City boat races the Tigers, gets out to an early lead. And like some people were saying on Tigers Twitter today, once you fall down 1-0, you can just stop watching. You know, this team's not going to show any resiliency and and come back and win. I had to eat a lot during this game because it was tough to watch. So I got a few chips still there. So hang with me. This is just, if you're using the listening only method, whether it be on Spotify or podcast, I'm okay. Just had to do a quick drink of water. So there we go. Okay, maybe 2. I am rattled, but the Tigers, not as bad as the Tigers. 8-3, the final in this one. Let's talk a little bit about Tarik Skubal's start because it is his first loss of the season, now 6-1, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, which I mentioned in the open matches, the most he's given up in a start so far this season. And I don't want to put this one on Tarik Skubal by any means because it's the level of expectations in comparison to how he's performed. I think he's even exceeded my high expectations for him and how good he's been. But a baseball team is not one with one starter. And unfortunately, what the Tigers have pitted themselves in is this: every 5th day, we've got a chance to win because Tarik Skubal's on the mound. And no matter how bad a baseball we play through the road trip leading up to him starting the final game of the road trip, we have hope in Tarik Skubal. And not every pitcher is going to be able, and you know, that level of thinking is, I certainly understand it. I had that same level of thinking entering today's game, but it's not fair or I guess indicative of the way the game works. You're going to have some off starts here and there. And Obviously there's pitchers that have been so dominant and put up historical seasons. And I do think Tarik Skubal is of that quality of the type of pitcher that can put up a historic season and reach the Cy Young, like we always talk about on this program. But tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, in a little day baseball, it wasn't his best start. The Royals jumped on him early, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but a multi-hit game for Bobby Witt Jr. I hate to jump right to Bobby Witt Jr. because I don't want to do a Locked On Tigers postcast about a different team's player, but I wrote this down in the notes. It must be nice to invest in a shortstop that breathes life into your organization, pay the man, and see the return on investment, which is exactly what happened with the Kansas City Royals and Bobby Witt Jr. Meanwhile, we're paying Javi Baez $25 million to do what Javi Baez does. So it's a bummer, and I just ooze with jealousy watching a team like the Kansas City Royals, who were way worse than the Tigers last year, spent some money in the offseason, and now are in the conversation competing with the Guardians for first place in the American League Central. Must be nice. Whippity-doo-dah-day. I wish the Tigers so badly, and Scott Harris and Chris Ilitch for that matter, and everybody else, Tigers brass, would get a clue, would take a hint. I mean, imitation is the highest form of flattery. Follow the same path as some of the other organizations and give a you-know-what. I wish this front office gave a bleep. It just doesn't feel like they do. And I kept telling myself during today's game, don't get mad. Don't scream into the microphone after today's game. It's just the state of this team. I said this on yesterday's postcast, you can't care more than the front office, than the ownership, than the players, than the coaches. And right now, it feels like this Tigers team doesn't care. And I know we're live post game right now, so I don't know what AJ Hinch is saying. I'll go back and watch his presser because I'm always curious, and he's always smarter than everybody else. We couldn't possibly fathom what goes into running a baseball team, and we're just dumb pundits, and us fans wouldn't have any idea. So I'm very curious what his post game reaction is going to be to this one. But road trip finishes off 2-4 after winning the first two. It felt like there was some momentum. I remember signing off Saturday night thinking, all right, maybe the season isn't over. Here we go. 2 straight wins against the Diamondbacks. Let's go for a series sweep tomorrow. And since then, it's been bad baseball. It's been bad body language. It's been falling behind early. And again, with the makeup of this team, if, like somebody said on Twitter, if you shut the game off after they fall behind, I don't blame you, because those 8-inning late inning magic that the Tigers were having early in the season, that is definitely a thing of the past. But Tarik Skubal gets hit with the loss, his first loss of the season. I think the Cy Young dream is still alive for me. But the bullpen wasn't much better, especially while we're talking pitching here. Really disappointing outing from Alex Lang. And I'm very curious what the mound visit with AJ Hinch was like in that 7th inning, because the Tigers had cut it to 4-2 heading to the bottom of the 7th. And this is baseball 101. If you are in a hole, your offense shows some semblance of life. They cut the lead in half. Now all of a sudden it's a 2-run game. You just got to go out and get a shutdown inning. It has to be done. You're a Major League Baseball player. You get paid a very nice living to go out and get a shutdown inning, Alex Lang. And he didn't. He gave up 4 runs in that bottom of the 7th inning. And before you could blink, it was once again, the lead was insurmountable after Andy Ibanez's 2-run double there in the top of the 7th. So it looked like that exchange with AJ Hinch and Alex Lang after the at-bat to Bobby Witt Jr., where, again, stop me if you've heard this one before, but he had a base knock that brought in some runs. And he threw, I wrote it down, Benetti said it on the telecast, but he threw 4 straight curveballs to Bobby Witt Jr. in that at-bat. 5 straight curveballs to Bobby Witt Jr., who then doubles 2 runs home. So maybe there was some kind of disconnect between pitch selection or lack of execution from Alex Lang, but not a good outing for Alex Lang as he gives up the 3 runs after the Tigers cut the lead in half. And there's a lot of things that went wrong. 4 runs. Let me make sure I get every single one of them in there, because that jumped the lead back to 8-2, and the Tigers did scratch one across in the 8th, but too little, too late. And when you get down, again, you're down 8-2. Who cares? You're not going to win that game because of a lot of different things, but especially a tough outing for Alex Lang. Will Vest was fine 1 inning in that 6th inning, did not give up a run, and then Chafin looked fine in the bottom of the 8th with 1 inning of work and no runs. But it all boils down to an 8-3 loss, and the Tigers are swept by the Kansas City Royals. No off day tomorrow. It's a getaway day today, and the Tigers will open a 4-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays, who are in last in the American League West. So maybe a get-right series at Comerica Park. Yeah! How many times have we said that before? But anyways, we're going to continue to break this one down, the miserable series that was, and then I love everybody's gifts that are coming into my inbox as we continue to be, I don't want to say scatterbrained, but again, I watched the game. I know you watched the game, and I don't want to just sit here and try to give you baseball guy breakdown when the team has lost 4 straight and just got swept by the Royals and didn't even show any type of competitive edge, or like I said, didn't even show a fraction of a makeup of a competent ball club. So I'm not going to insult anyone's intelligence and say, oh, they were so close. It was bad movie. Once again, bad movie, 3 movies in a row. And it's like my grandparents always say, if it's a bad movie, you turn it off, you do something different with your time. So that's kind of where we're at as the Tigers lose this one 8-3 and get swept by the Royals. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Tigers postcast continues in a moment. All right, it's time to tell you about my friends at Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And let me just tell you, if you're watching Tigers baseball, you got to find a way to keep it interesting. And that is through Prize Picks. You simply pick more or less on 2 or more players' projected stats and watch the winnings roll in. Let me give you a free tip. I would always pick more on Javi Baez's strikeouts. You can always count on that. It's like free money. But in all seriousness, Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. You pick more, you pick less. It's that simple. And somebody with not a lot of intellectual capacity upstairs like myself, it's easy and nice to have an app that's easy to use and understand, and fun games to have while you're watching your teams. And you can play alongside Prize Picks' favorite players like Meek Mill and Sugar Sean. How about that? Lots of fun promotions that are always going on with Prize Picks to help you test your skills, whether it be baseball season. We know we got the NBA going on right now. Wild ending at the Garden last night between the Celtics and Pacers. You can pick more or less on a number of different stats, players, props, and so much more. The Eastern Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs get set tonight, I believe. Yes, just had to double check there. But you got the Panthers playing against the Rangers. That'll be a good series. So have some fun with the Prize Picks. And again, if you're suffering through Tiger baseball like I am, make sure you make it a little bit more enjoyable with some Prize Picks. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports. They also offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account. That is awesome. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Oh my goodness. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. And you got free money up to a $100 deposit match at Locked On MLB as your code when you download the app today. Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Pick less, pick more. It's that easy. All right, we got a number of people tuning in on the YouTube, whether you're joining us, if you're just joining us rather, or you've been with us the whole time. Feel free to go off in the comments. We always want to make this fun and interactive. And I think a healthy venting session would do just about everyone some good, because I vented in the opening of this one where I feel like I care more about the team's success, or lack thereof, I should say, than the front office does, than the owner. And maybe that's not true, but and perception isn't always reality. I know that, but it's just frustrating the way this team was constructed. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but the pieces are there. And maybe this past series isn't the best example because the Royals did kind of dominate Tiger pitching in 3 consecutive games and the Tigers were playing from behind. But it's too good of a team, I feel, to be 3 games below 500 given the way this season started. And maybe I am just blinders on, head in the sand, can't see it for what it is. I know a lot of people have been talking about moves that need to be made at the deadline, given the wealth of pitching that this team has. And maybe you make a big time deal because obviously Skubal and even Flaherty for that matter would demand, Skubal obviously is going to demand a king's ransom, but Flaherty as well, if he's a guy you look to move at the deadline, you can get a lot back. But the other side of that with me anyways, and again, I'm not the general manager of the Detroit Tigers, but when you start considering that, it's just this perpetual, continuous rebuild that it's the hamster running in the wheel going nowhere. Then we trade this excellent player for all these prospects. We can't develop position players. So what does it matter? And it just feels like it would be hitting the reset once again. And maybe that pain is what this Tigers team needs. But again, they weren't the Kansas City Royals of last year. Now look at the Royals. So I just wonder what it could be to get the Tigers over the hump in that next step of being a competitive baseball team and competing for an American League Central Championship and trying to get into the postseason. And I got to be careful too, because I want to make sure I express the fact that I would understand why those moves would be made. It's just a matter of coping with the reality of the situation of here we go again, reset, repeat. So that said, I think it's important to take it day by day, one day at a time. And this 162 of these, there's going to be some ups and some downs. And right now the Tigers are really, really down, but we don't have to be down because guess what? I've got some really good news for you as it relates to Locked On Sports. That's right. Locked On Sports is now offering a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But now, in all seriousness, some other good news. I think this series upcoming series. Wow, there we go. Talking is hard against the Toronto Blue Jays is maybe an opportunity to get right. You look, the Tigers entered 8.5 back, and you can't keep playing losing baseball and watch that lead grow and grow and grow for the Guardians and Royals. And then whatever the Twins do, I know they've just been a roller coaster. They're either winning every game or losing every game. But in the meantime, as you continue to fall further and further out of it, we're going to blink. And before we know it, there's not really going to be much of a point to this season other than chalk it up to now the second half of the season. We just try to get the young guys more at bats, call up some guys. Maybe it's Chase Young, whoever it may be. And that's the type of stuff that's the reality of the state of this franchise. And hey, I guess we're certainly used to coping with that because that's what they've been time and time again. All right. I do have some interesting notes that I wanted to pass along before we get into the gift therapy session of the program, because I thought while it felt like the sky was falling, I thought this was an interesting note that the Tigers, when they were 23-24, so this would have been 2 games ago, they're now 23-26. That's the exact same mark after 37 games that the 2012 team had that went to the World Series. So maybe a silver line there, trying to find some positives. People tell me I need to be more positive. So there we go. This team is exactly like the 2012 World Series team, right? Obviously not. But hey, maybe the rotation can continue to, or I should say, hopefully the rotation can be better than what they were in this series against the Royals, and again, start to churn some victories and eat up some series and get back to playing a winning brand of baseball like they played in that stretch where they won 4 consecutive series. Wouldn't that be nice? Of course it would. All right, we're going to do some gift therapy here in a second. Some people send in some great gifts of what it's like watching this Tigers team play, and then we'll look ahead to Thursday's matchup against the Toronto Blue Jays back at the friendly confines of Comerica Park. Don't go anywhere. We've got more to get to on this live edition of Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. Let me tell you about our good friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. I'm talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And unlike the Tigers, they don't let you down. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or else your money back. How about that peace of mind? Can't beat it. With eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home the huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Okay, I asked for some gifts to help us cope with the state of the current Tigers level of play, however you want to put it, the just state of the franchise in general. I think we're down bad. I was listening to 97 The Ticket's morning show, and Costa feels it. They're down bad. There's just no other way to put it. So let's humor ourselves. And I'm not a therapist, so don't take it that way, but we all have different coping mechanisms, and mine is through humor. So yeah, we're going to make some jokes at the Tigers' expense. I asked for gifts of what it's like watching this Tigers team, and the people delivered. Mine was Charles Barkley, kind of falling asleep and his eyes kind of rolling back and rolling his eyes. That's what I feel like when I watch this team, because again, I don't want to be the guy that cares about the team more than the general manager cares, more than the owner cares, more than the coaching staff cares. If they're like, nah, whatever, just collect a paycheck, lose some more games, then that's how I'm going to be too. But that said, we've got Ashley on Twitter, Ashley Z 46 minutes ago with the GIF. I think that's an old school picture of Anibal Sanchez. I could be wrong. Or Armando Galarraga. I'm sorry, Armando Galarraga. Testing my Tiger history there with just staring into the camera. That one's pretty good. Raymond Nuznov with SpongeBob falling into a hole, saying they enjoy seeing me in pain. Yeah, it's painful to watch this Tigers team. Mark 19472311 with a GIF. I don't even want to be around anymore. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. A couple other, we got my man Steve Medincia chiming in with Jack Nicholson, the sunglasses falling down, saying deal with it. Yeah, we have to deal with it, because again, that's what this Tigers roster construction has resulted in. A bad baseball team that we get to watch have potential with the pitching staff and the bullpen and the starting pitchers be wasted night in and night out. And I know the last 3 games against the Royals, not the best example of that, but at the same time, the overall synopsis of this team, if you were to say, explain the 2024 Detroit Tigers to me in a sentence or two, you would say really good pitching, wasted consistently by the lack of offense, and the front office, ownership, the manager, they don't care. That's how I would say it. But let me know what you would as well in the comments. How would you summarize we're almost at the 50 game part, 49 games in, 23 and 26, 3 games below 500 for the first time this season. That's the worst the Tigers have been. So yeah, the sky is falling, but it's up to Jack Flaherty and the Tigers to turn the tide, beginning with a Thursday night game tomorrow against the Blue Jays at Comerica Park. That one comes your way at 6:40. Flaherty 1-3 on the season, but that ERA impressive, 3.79, 72 strikeouts on the year. He's been pretty good because, like I said, he might be another guy that other teams are looking to poach at the deadline. Then Matt Manning will go for the Tigers. Matt Manning will go for the Tigers on Friday. I'd like to see a bounce back start from him because I've been calling for him to get an opportunity in the absence of Kenta Maeda. Here's his opportunity. He hasn't been great in his first two starts, but he hasn't also been egregiously bad. 4.88 ERA, 23 strikeouts, 0-1 on the season. And then the back half, we'll see. Perhaps the Tigers will shake some things up because we know AJ Hinch loves shaking up that lineup any way he can. So maybe he'll do the same with the pitching staff. But that said, appreciate everybody tuning in to this edition of the Locked On Tigers postcast. It's always a pleasure to be on the air with you. And don't forget, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And don't forget to tune in to Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley. Always love hearing his thoughts on the action as well. And I think we're good yin and yang, if I do say so myself, as far as Tigers coverage. But that said, appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to be on the air with you. Tigers get swept by the Kansas City Royals. Just a tough go at it. 8-3 yesterday, or 8-3 today. I'm sorry. 10-3 yesterday. And another part that I probably should have not buried this at the very end of the program because we've kind of hinted at it, but I actually did some homework and looked at the Tigers payroll. They're 22nd in all of Major League Baseball, well beneath the league average. Second lowest in the American League Central, only the Cleveland Guardians coming in with less for 2024, and the Guardians are in first place. So don't know what to tell you. We don't pay anybody. We don't care. And Jason Walter just chiming in on the YouTube saying this team makes me want to drink. Yes, that's a great point. Go have a couple of cocktails. Everybody that's tuning into this stream. I know it was day baseball today. So depending on where you're at in the country, 5:20 Eastern time, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Let's drink to the Tigers' 4-game losing streak, being swept by the Kansas City Royals, and maybe coming back stronger at home in a get-right series against the last place Toronto Blue Jays. But that said, they've got a pretty similar record to the Tigers. So I'm trying to speak it into existence. What do you guys want for me? But appreciate everybody tuning in. Always a pleasure to be on the air with you. And as always, subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit on the YouTube. Tell a Tigers friend about it. We love chatting day in and day out on the interweb, connecting all kinds of familiarities and commonalities about the Detroit Tigers. So make sure you subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Matt Wood with the 9th richest owner. Yeah, it's a great point. Chris Ilitch, he's got plenty of money to spend, just doesn't want to spend it on the payroll for the Detroit Tigers. So to each their own, I guess. We'll just continue. Again, we're not going to care more than ownership, than the front office, than the coaching staff. We're gonna be there because we're good people. How about that? But thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time. I know I've said thanks like 100 times. Sorry, my brain just isn't working. But as always, it's a pleasure to be with you. We'll see you tomorrow following the conclusion of Tigers Blue Jays on Locked On Tigers postcast.